Hello and welcome back to the show. Now, there's an awful lot you can tell about a person just by looking at their shoes. And we have a man who has that at the back of his mind, even as he has founded a very popular sneakers brand called Kicks Tribe. Now, this is a man who switched careers from microbiology to making his sneakers. Actually, there was a journey, a progression, which he'll be sharing with us shortly. He's worked in IT in his own home country. And with a shoe size to match his accomplishments, Jide struggled to find shoes to fit his size 48 feet. Jide Ipaye is our guest today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Do you really have size 48?
Apparently, I mean, I grew up actually wearing my dad's shoes by the age of 10. So,
but you know, your kicks do not make them look.
Yes, they don't.
Absolutely. I mean, that was the real idea behind it. Designing something that looks really nice and comfortable, because I struggled a whole lot with getting shoes my size. And even when I find the ones that are my size, they don't look so nice. They look very long and, you know, funny. So I said, why don't I just design my own shoes?
Right.
You know? But it's been a very interesting journey because I had to go through a lot of learning on how to make the shoes.
Great. So tell us the journey, starting from when you started studying microbiology. I'm sure, did you always know you would do sneakers?
Not at all.
Great. So from microbiology, how did it happen?
Okay, so I studied microbiology, and when I finished from school, I started working in Port Harcourt in an oil servicing company. Unfortunately, we had one or two community issues, and so I had to run back to Lagos. And then I picked up the IT course. I started studying, what they call the Microsoft exams and all of that. So I started working for a technology company, and I got outsourced to a lot of multinationals, Guinness, KPMG, Total. And then about 3 years ago, I was in Paris on holiday with the family, and it got me thinking. I said, look, all these years, I've basically struggled with finding shoes my size. Why don't I, take time out of the holiday and find a solution to it? So I went online, I started doing some research, and I came across a school in the Netherlands called SLEM, a school for innovative footwear design and manufacturing. Lo and behold, I decided to take the trip to the Netherlands, checked out the school, met with the proprietors there, and I said, well, look, I have this challenge with my shoe size, and I think it's high time I solve the problem. So I decided to enroll in a course there and learned how to make sneakers. And, when we were done with the program, I said, okay, so do you guys have any local factories here that I can work with? So they introduced me to one or two. And then they said, look, making a single pair of shoes is going to be very expensive because it's all about economies of scale with manufacturing. These are high precision products. They use a lot of machinery and all of that. So they said, look, if you're going to make for you, we need to make at least 1,000 pairs. I said, how do we do this? So I started reading up about something called crowdfunding. Again, because of my technology background, I was able to leverage a lot of the internet to understand how to solve some of these problems. So I read about crowdfunding, and lo and behold, I got onto a site called Kickstarter. And over a period of about 30 days, 40 days actually, we raised $20,000 from different parts of the world, to produce the first batch of shoes. So the idea basically was we got people to pre-order the designs that I had done, and, lo and behold, we had pre-orders all over the world. We produced the shoes, and then we shipped all over the world. And that's exactly how it started.
Amazing. I mean, this sounds like it is an amazing story. Mm-hmm. You spoke about how your technology background helped you with your business. Right. I'm also quite curious as to how your science background helped your business as well, because I know that no knowledge is lost. Along our life's journey, we are exposed to different channels of learning, and most oftentimes we usually employ those in what we're doing. So how has your science background helped with your business?
Okay, well, I think that would focus primarily more on how people wear shoes, comfort. So, for example, one of the things that I had to research into was how do you design shoes that are comfortable? Also, whilst I was in the school, we learned something called haptic technology, which is actually people put chips in shoes that can guide you on how you run, the impact on your knees, and also, in some cases, they've even gone at the extreme as coming up with technology products that can guide people that are visually impaired to find their way. So actually, part of our new collection that we're doing now, because we're actually doing another crowdfunding campaign that just started today, is we have one of the shoes, which is a running shoe. It comes with a pod, a device that syncs to your mobile app. It tells you how you run, how much calories you've burnt, and you can actually begin to go into a competition with other people all over the world that have the same device. So I think the human physique, the body, and how it relates to what you wear, because the entire body rests on your shoes. So I think one of the first things that I focused on was comfort. How can I make a pair of shoes that are comfortable and are also durable?
All right. This is really mind-blowing, and I look forward to seeing this new collection of yours that is
Absolutely.
coming out shortly. Now, you've talked about how technology has helped you start a business.
Right.
There are several people who want to start businesses, but they think the first problem is raising capital. You've been able to circumvent this problem through the crowdfunding.
Right.
How can people get information, with regards to starting businesses, raising capitals, going through this back end? People who are not technologically savvy. You are technologically savvy,
Right.
People who don't have the background that you have in IT, how can they be aware of this information? Is there anywhere it is? Can you help them?
Okay, well, I think one of the greatest things that we have in this our era, this our time, is the internet. You have things like YouTube, you have the internet. You can actually get any information you want. And I think one of the greatest challenges they say about a black man, if you want to hide information from him, put it in a book because he doesn't read. So a lot of us have to take time out and research these things. I also didn't have any knowledge about shoes. So I went to a school, I paid money to go and study and learn how to make shoes. And so moving from one career to the other also means you need to do a lot of research. So if people want to also start a business, they need to invest in knowledge, educate themselves. I mean, I attended a lot of courses also in entrepreneurship. I think one of the first that I attended was the Faith Foundation. And then, I was also lucky to have been one of those that were chosen by the Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Foundation. So there are over 40,000 people that applied in 2016, and they chose about 1,000. I also applied for something called the Sterling Bank Meet the Executives program, which I won. And I was also given a grant. So, these things are available for people to...
I like that you push yourself, with regards to accessing funds and fellowships, as you've mentioned, because some people sit in their corner and try to do their insular in their business and they just do things on their own, but you have opened up yourself to training and opportunities, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Now, something that people talk about when it comes to made in Nigerian products is quality.
Right.
And many business entrepreneurs like yourself complain about the cost of production, hence, and the amount of money that people will be willing to pay, hence its effect on quality.
Right.
How do you ensure that you keep your quality excellent and still making it affordable as much as possible, at least not people not breaking the bank to wear your shoes?
Right.
How do you manage that in a climate like Nigeria?
Okay, I think one of the things with us Nigerians, this is my own opinion, is that we sometimes put the cart before the horse. Manufacturing is all about economies of scale. There are probably I read an article recently about 4 reasons why people don't buy made in Nigerian goods. One of them is the fact that people generally perceive that the quality is very low. And sometimes it's because these people don't even have the equipment or, the things that are required to produce a standard product. So, for example, when you're making clothes, I'm sure you've heard about people that talk about using patterns. A lot of tailors in Nigeria, they use what you call freehand. They don't standardize how they get things done. So when they produce stuff, it's not consistent. And therefore, if you don't have consistency, there's no way people are going to trust your product. We have had to outsource our production, but we are trying to get to a point where we have enough volume to justify setting up a factory. Because we obviously know if you're setting up a factory, you have to get power.
I was going to ask you, what are the challenges you foresee if you were to have a factory in Nigeria?
Yes, we have to have power. We have to train a lot of people. The factory line that we're going to be setting up can produce 2,000 pairs of shoes a day. And then the next question is, how do you push those products out? So there's the challenge of marketing for people. It's not enough to make a product in Nigeria. You have to have the financial resources and the know-how to market the product so people can know it exists. Then you also have to focus on quality. And then, most importantly, you must be able to consistently deliver the same level of quality all over the world.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Great. So do you find that by outsourcing the production of your kicks that it works better that way? Because we're still on the subject of quality. So people, because they're business owners who want to ensure that they don't want to compromise on quality, but the cost of production is so high that they don't know how to marry it. So is it, at the moment, at least currently for you, is outsourcing the best option?
For now, it's the best. But in the long term, producing in Nigeria would make a lot more sense. And, back to what we talked about, the average Nigerian consumer is also somewhat sophisticated. They want sophisticated, high-quality products. They also want it at a cheap price.
Very affordable.
So when you think about it, if you're going to produce one pair of shoes or 20 pairs of shoes a day, and you're running the same generator, you're hiring the same people, you have to put that cost back into the product. And what that means is if you don't have a large quantity, you cannot spread your costs across and reduce it. So we need to get to that point. And that's what a lot of small businesses are going to face.
What can the government do to help people, to help business owners and fresh entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs who want to set up shop in Nigeria? Because now you're outsourcing.
Yes.
Bringing it to Nigeria would mean that we're increasing employment opportunities. There will be more people.
Great for our economy.
It's great for us,
Absolutely.
that we don't have to go out there. So what can the government do to make life easier for business owners who want to set up shop in Nigeria?
Okay, I know that, for example, in Aba, they've had 1 or 2 clusters. They talked about, clusters where people can actually come and produce goods. But then again, we Nigerians, we also have challenges. Okeke and Sons doesn't want Emeka and Sons to see his patterns or how he produces his products. In places like Ethiopia, for example, what they've done is they've set up, like industrial parks where people actually come in and set up their factory. So they have the very basic, the number one priority, power. I have an uncle who once set up a nappy production factory here in Nigeria. And, he kept running the line, power, off, on, and then at some point he had to start running on generator, 24/7. He was already spending 5 million naira alone on power. So when you add all that costs to the product, there's no consumer in Nigeria that is going to pay for it because he has alternatives. So there are things around, one, protecting the manufacturers locally. That means they have to come up with policies and processes that are going to ensure that, products don't come in ad hoc.
I mean, they tried to do that at some point.
So they might need to increase a lot of tariffs for, imports on one end. The other end is power. So the infrastructure has to be there.
In 2019, elections are coming. Power.
Yes.
Power is key. It is priority to us. On a lighter note,
Absolutely.
there's a trend right now. Everybody seems to be wearing sneakers. I mean, I was
Right.
supposed to wear sneakers on my Ankara.
Yes.
If it dates back to, say, 3-4 years ago,
Yes.
it would have been weird and absolutely absurd for one to wear a dress and wear sneakers.
Yes.
Do you think that this is a sustainable trend? At least it's a favorable trend for Kickstripe.
Right.
You can wear anything and just throw sneakers on.
Right.
Do you think it's just a fad that will soon fade away, or it's a trend that would come and stand the test of time?
I think just like the music industry in Nigeria today, you can see what is happening. We're going global. We're taking a more global African approach to how we do things. And therefore, products and, how we do things is beginning to become a norm. You also need to understand that we're in a newer, generation. This generation is that of the e-commerce, the global, the mobile market. So they see what other people are doing abroad. And we also influence people with our style. I think it's going to stay. Of course, you're going to see other styles evolve over time, but it's definitely something that's going to stay.
Beautiful. Now, what makes your sneakers stand out from others? I see you're wearing one of your designs,
Yes,
very
right.
beautiful. Are all your designs, do they all have African print on them?
Because this looks like Adire-ish.
Yes,
Yes.
it does.
So what makes it different? Why should I pick up your Kicks rather than, an international brand?
Right.
What makes it stand out?
Okay, so Kicks is actually positioned as the first innovative and social footwear brand in Africa. And I think those 3 qualifiers, the first innovative, so we've again focused on leveraging technology as well as the internet to basically position our products. We're also Afrocentric, so we tend to infuse storytelling in a lot of our products. So, for example, you can see this is called Ashwebi. And there was a reason for that. We know how it is with we Yoruba people. When you're having parties, everybody needs to wear the same thing. So it's a tie-dye, inspiration, but then we call it Ashwebi. We also have a new collection which we are launching today. It's called the Afronauts. And it's actually based on a true story about a Zambian team that wanted to go to space in the 1960s. The gentleman's name was Edward Bakuka. So they were actually simulating space travel in Zambia, and they wanted to raise money to go to space. So we've taken that story, the headlines, and we've actually put it on the shoes.
Brilliant.
Wow. So, there's a lot of stuff. The first collection was the Fela Kuti collection. The art was taken from a gentleman called Lemi Garioku. He did all of Fela's album covers. And so we tend to inspire people through our products as well.
How did the name Kicks come about very quickly before we let you go?
Okay, so Kicks is 2 words. K-I-C-K-S, which means sneakers, and then Keek, K-E-E-K, which means to peep. So the peeping element is our African brand. That is why when you see the shoes, they stand out.
Yeah.
You know, they peep and they tell you a story.
Interesting. We have been speaking with Babajide Ipaye, the founder and CEO of Keek's Tribe, Africa's innovative, how do you refer to it?
Social footwear brand.
Yeah, Africa's innovative and social footwear brand. A brand that tells a story, apparently. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Same here.
Thank you for all the ideas that you've shared. You know, there are many people, I'm sure, who didn't know before now that you can actually start a business with zero capital, which is what you did. You were able to use crowdfunding to be able to generate resource for yourself. So all the information that you need is on the internet. Go out there, read, research, and find out what you need to know. And understand that your competition is 2 steps ahead of you. It's coming out with a brand that is basically connected to your mobile phone. So that's what is happening. People, you're thinking ahead, you're trying to set the trends while people are following. So go ahead, use the internet so that you can be 2 steps ahead of your competitors. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
To enjoy more of these our Ogbonge videos when you just watch, press this button to subscribe on top of our YouTube page. You go love am.